Because I feel like we're doing what they did on the Fresh Prince. We have there's a completely new design here.
You haven't noticed.
Yeah. We have updated our look here at Medicare Agent IQ. Even our logo's different. So it's a little bit different. There were some things that the CFO said that were recently about, brokers being compensated pretty well. And, I think obviously if brokers do a good job about it or a good job of it, yeah, they're going to be compensated well.
Hey everybody, we are back. Welcome back. We are so excited to be here. It has been a minute. If we're being completely open and honest with everybody, but tell them why. Where have we been?
I don't know, man. It's funny how you can go from, okay, we're going to take 2 weeks off to it's been like a year and a half. Be honest, it's been some time, and we continued, we're going to continue to do this podcast. And I actually got, in the first 2 months off, I got a couple of messages on Instagram, and people are like, "Hey, are you guys coming back?" I'm like, "Yeah," and we'll be back. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, and then it just went a little bit longer. But honestly, we have been in our business just in a lot of growth mode, and we've been focusing a lot on. It's been a crazy year and a half, and we're our business continues to grow. We're pushing forward, and we're doing big things in our business, and so this had to take a backseat. But we're back, and we're committed to doing this podcast regularly. I don't know if we've decided yet if we're going to do every week or just transition over to every other week. Just kind of making a decision about that and kind of deciding. But we're back, and we promise to be consistent again. So
yeah, we've been busy. Along with us being in growth mode, and just we've been dealing with all the disruption that we've seen in the industry over the last year and a half, and so that has really kind of had a lot of our attention. And but with that said, right, we want to be able to share information, knowledge, strategies, things that we can do, information that we can share to help agents that are also dealing with all of this disruption and chaos and finding success in the industry, because there's still opportunity for success. And I feel like we hear and see a lot of stuff where people are saying, hey, the sky is falling, the Medicare sky is falling, and we're here to tell you that is not the case. And there's still a lot of opportunity to be, even if you're new to this business, you can really make something out of it.
Yeah, there's definitely, we're in a transitional period. That's the truth of the matter is that Medicare is changing. We're seeing, we can't skate over the fact that Humana decided to start prorating new to Medicare commissions. That's kind of like I feel like, I was trying to think of a good term. I was thinking of a boxing term, but I don't know. It sucks. Yeah. That's kind of a way to say it. It does, right? Yeah. But we continue to push forward, and really all that they're telling us with that is that, hey, there's other carriers out there. Go ahead and put them with them. They're sending a message that I think they're wanting to delay some of that. And obviously, again, I don't want to just kind of go over it. There were some things that the CFO said that were recently about brokers being compensated pretty well, and I think obviously if brokers do a good job about it or a good job of it, yeah, they're going to be compensated well. But we're putting in a lot of work for the insurance carriers. I really do believe that our agents are earning those dollars
appropriately compensated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for the amount of work. And I mean, when you think about it, like $28 a month per client to deal with those customer service issues. And man, we even have agents that, we serve, for some people, we serve a community that is low income, that is maybe illiterate, and it's a cold truth about some of the seniors that we serve is maybe they can't read. Maybe they, I know my own grandparents only went up to like 5th and 6th grade because they had to go and work. And so it's a different time. And so some of the people that we serve are struggling. And so we have agents that will literally just go to someone's house to read their letters. So to say that agents might be overcompensated, I feel like is not fair and completely inaccurate.
Yeah, well, all that said, right? The reality of Medicare is it's confusing. It's very hard, right? We talk to agents and we talk about how we go through trainings and we go through certifications and we've got to do these things annually, but then there are just changes that are always coming up. There's always change that's happening, and then we just expect seniors, when you turn 65, hey, here's Medicare, go figure it out. And there's real value in what we do as agents and what we bring to our seniors and giving them the knowledge, the resources, the guidance, and talking them through and really helping them make these important decisions about their day-to-day healthcare.
Yeah, I love it, man. Let's go ahead and kind of transition and go back real quick to the fact that we took that long break. And I can't stress enough that this happens to agents all the time. Agents do the same thing. And we have to really force ourselves to get back into that groove and to get back to going all in to build our business. And so as an insurance agent, there could be that situation where AEP is over and now you've been coasting. Or some agents, now we're hitting the end of OEP when we get to April 1st, where agents, you're like, there's not a whole lot of people to enroll. There's not a whole lot to do. The truth of the matter is it gets really easy to coast all the way through October for a lot of agents. So what we're trying to do is we want to make sure that agents don't get into that place where they're no longer working, that they're, go 6 months and then they're like, man, I should have stayed in contact with my clients. Oh, I should have worked on this. I should have worked on that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When I first got into the business, that was one thing that I got a lot, right? Medicare's a seasonal business, and when I got in 13 years ago, there was no OEP. I think it existed before, then they took it away, and then it came back. But, and I feel like it sort of was a seasonal business, but it didn't have to be. And I think and even now, more than back then, it absolutely doesn't have to be, right? What are different ways, what are different things that we can be doing to be busy outside of AEP and outside of OEP now that those things have come and gone?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and kind of jump on into them and make sure that because I want to touch everything. First of all, do you know how many people are turning 65 in 2026?
Every day? There are over,
total amount of people.
Well, I know that's 10,000 every day, so whatever that is times 365.
Yeah, it's actually 4+ million Americans,
4 million.
So like 11,000 a day.
Yeah, wow.
So we've got maybe 3 or 4 more years of that many people turning 65. That baby boom really really helped us and puts us in a good situation. But so that's got to be one of the biggest things that we do during this time of the year, is to have a really good T65 campaign.
Yeah, people who are aging into Medicare, your IEPs, your initial enrollment period. There's just so much opportunity. Again, 11,000 people. Obviously, that's nationally, but depending on whatever market you're in, or maybe you sell in multiple states, or you do telesales. There's the opportunities there, and it's just a matter of finding those folks, and you can build campaigns around that, or you get the referrals, right? You get people who, if you've been in the business for a while now, your phone starts ringing, and you've got people who are aging into Medicare. And what we see, though, I think with these people who are aging into Medicare, we see it more now than we did in the past. Is people are approaching the age of 65, and a lot of them are still in the workforce. They're still working, and they don't know what it is that they need to do. They talk to friends, they talk to family members, and they're getting mixed answers, right? I was told that you shouldn't get Medicare. Somebody else is telling me that I need to get Medicare. But I think the root of it, the heart of it is they definitely need to sit down and have a conversation with somebody like you and figure out whether or not it actually makes sense for them to take Medicare or not.
Yeah. I think that in the next couple of episodes, what we'll do is talk about that and how to have that conversation and answer some of those questions for agents. One of the thoughts that I have, though, and I think what we'll probably end up doing over the next several podcasts is go through these and expand on them, right? Like, how do you build out a turning 65 campaign, things like that. But one of the things that would be super beneficial for you as an agent is to come up with a strategy for people who choose to not enroll in Medicare at 65. And so you do all the work, you put together a strategy to get in front of someone when they're turning 65, and then you have that conversation and you explain to them that they should probably stay on their insurance that they had before through work, and you need to know when they're going to be retiring, and maybe they don't know. Maybe you set up either an automation and get permission that you can stay in contact with them, but maybe set up an automation that says, hey, I'm going to give you a call, or I'm going to reach out to you every 6 months. And would that be okay if I just send you a text message to find out if you're retired yet? And would you save my number in there so that way you'd be able to make sure. And what I would love to do is if they know that they're going to be retiring at 67, say, would it be okay if I just stayed in contact with you just a couple of times over the next couple of years, so that way I could be the agent that you talk to? And so make sure so you might need a turning 67 strategy that you put into that pipeline for 65 years old.
Yeah, like figure out a way to not forget about that. You had the conversation. It's not going to lead to them enrolling into Medicare now, but have some sort of plan to connect with them further down the road. A couple of examples, right? Somebody says they're going to retire at 65. I met with a gentleman who he's got a daughter who he carries on his insurance, and she's 24 and a half years old. So we're going to wait until she turns 26. He's in the pipeline, right? I've got him in the queue. We're going to have a conversation, a year from now to touch base and get ready to do that. But another thing too, sometimes it comes down to price, right? It just maybe financially makes more sense for them to stick with their work insurance. Just, hey, is it okay if I follow up with you at the end of the year? When is your company's open enrollment? Let's touch base then. And who knows, maybe their prices are going to stay the same. Maybe they won't. Maybe they're going to go up in price. And now it's time to reopen a conversation about getting on to Medicare later this year. So whatever it may be, those are just a couple of examples of reasons why you would want to make sure to create a follow-up.
Yeah, you got to stay in contact with them. It's just like, we put in a lot of work to get these seniors, in front of us. And then, so we're standing in front of them, and then we have to tell them, hey, this, stick with your, they work for a large company. A lot of times the insurance that they have is, their company is paying for it, and it makes more sense for them to stay with it, depending, right? And so, but you've spent all that time and energy, make sure that you're benefiting from it. So that kind of brings us to the next one. Who else can we help? Is late retirees. Like throughout this whole year, there's going to be other people that you might run into. I put together a good social media advertising, doing meta advertising and get in front of people who maybe are retiring late. And so you want to make sure that that these are people that I'd be able to help. So
yeah, those retirees, which that's, again, you people are aging into Medicare, that, they're still in the workforce, and many of them are still remaining on their employer insurance. So you got to make sure that you're up to speed and the process of how to walk people through, how to help them navigate the path of, I'm 67 now. What is it? I'm retiring. I'm going to be leaving my employer coverage. What are the steps to getting on to Medicare? And I think it brings value as an agent when you know how to walk them down that path and guide them through it and to that spot where now they've got their Medicare in place, and then you can help them package it with either a MedSup or a Medicare Advantage plan. And really that's, taking them by the hand and helping them get to the finish line. That's a term that I use all the time, right? People are really stressed out. They're confused. They're kind of scared of it. So they kind of put it on the back burner, and you got to make sure as an agent that you have the conversation and say, hey, look, this is what I do, right? This is what I do on a regular basis. It's my job to help you understand how to navigate this, not yours. So my goal is to make it as stress-free as possible, take you by the hand, and get you to that finish line.
Yeah, love that. I love that. Another thing we got to focus on during this time are special enrollment periods, right? Just different life events that could happen. So what are those? Like a client moves out of the service area and they're moving into your market or something like that. You run across those people, then those are people that you can enroll. Client loses employer group coverage. Maybe they were on it and their open enrollment came and they were told, hey, it's probably best to get off. Those are some situations that you can enroll people. Client leaves Medicare or exits their plan leaves Medicare or exit their county. Now that's I think that during this time of the year,
you don't see that.
You're not going to see that anymore. But another SEP could be, entering or leaving a nursing facility. That could be a big one that we've got to, those are some opportunities. And, keep in mind that most of these SEPs are 2 to 3 month windows. And so they're time sensitive. And so we got to get in front of them. We got to help them make some decisions pretty quick. But there's good ones. I think that there's right now in a lot of counties, those disaster SEPs where people or agents are allowed to get people enrolled. There was at the end of 2025, there was in the proposed rule or the final rule, there was a rule that said that agents weren't going to be able to
use the DSTs. It was last year at the end of OEP. So starting April 1st of 2025.
Right.
If there are disaster SEPs available, those members are going to have to call Medicare directly.
But that was reversed. Yeah. And so since it was reversed, you can go out there and use that SEP, and so it's an opportunity for people who maybe missed that enrollment. They didn't realize that they could have changed their insurance, and so it's a good opportunity as well.
Yeah, the disaster SEPs, I recommend get familiar with them, get comfortable with them, because they can be they're pretty detailed. And then depending on the carrier, some of them are going to really enforce the criteria that needs to be met in order to use one of those SEPs, and they're constantly changing, right? I just mentioned this earlier this week to some agents. Just because you saw a certain disaster SEP available a couple of weeks ago, it could look totally different today, and it could look totally different again in a couple of weeks. So just, but again, it creates an opportunity for those folks who maybe missed an enrollment period, and they're having to make changes to their plan, maybe because their doctor's no longer in the network. Cost of prescriptions went up. You want to be able to provide value, and if you can't uncover, a special enrollment period, DST, the disaster SEP, is one way to kind of help them get there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you can between a very good tenured agent that makes a lot of sales during this time of the year versus kind of a more green agent is the ability to uncover SEPs. One of the things here in our company that we always talk about is finding a way to say yes. And what I mean is, like, if an agent calls and they have an issue, we're like, find a way to say yes. If they need marketing dollars, they need something, find a way to say yes. What does that mean? I've got to go uncover an opportunity. I got to go and uncover a way to do that. With the same respect for agents, you find for someone who is on Medicare, if you've got them in front of you, you've got to find a way to say yes. Look through the SEP list and like, how can I help them enroll? That's what they're looking to do. And so if you are a tenured agent, the SEPs, all of these things, so that way you can find a way to say yes.
And if you're not, right, if this is a little newer to you and this is maybe somewhere where you struggle, I think this is where you got to lean on your upline, right? Get with whoever your upline is and say, hey, look, I need some training, I need some guidance, or hey, I'm in an appointment. Is there an opportunity available? That's where leaning on your upline and getting that guidance from them is really going to come into play for you.
Yeah, and if you can't get an answer, find a new upline. I just like truly, we got a call during. I think it was like right in December from an agent. He was like, look, I am looking to switch my FMO. And I was like, well, okay, yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit why. And the response is really shocking to me. You're like, yeah, throughout AEP, I wasn't able to get any kind of response when I had a question. And so what they said is that they ended up going into a Facebook group and throwing the questions out in there, and people were able to help them. One, I love that there's Facebook groups out there, but you've got to be able to contact your upline. So that should be like that's the minimum. The bare minimum. Like if you have to do that. Oh, you know what I just thought of? Hold on, time out. So here was a thought that I had and I wanted to share, because I feel like we're doing what they did on The Fresh Prince. We have there's a completely new design here.
You haven't noticed.
Yeah. And we have updated our look here at Medicare Agent IQ. Even our logo's different. So it's a little bit different here. But I was thinking about how The Fresh Prince, they even changed the mom.
Aunt Viv.
Well,
what happened to her?
Yeah, no mention of it. And so I was looking around. I was like, oh yeah, we probably should mention that. So, but yeah,
no, keep talking about it. Talk about the room. I love so this was Raul's idea. Raul wanted to bring in, what do you call these things here? Like these acoustic
panels?
boards,
yeah.
Acoustic panels. The sound is much greater in here, but I think it just really brings a nice look, a nice refresh to what we're what we're working on here. So this is part of the comeback, right?
I look at some of our old videos. I'm like, oh man, that was pretty bad. So we had to step it up a little bit.
Come a long way.
Yeah. So on to the next. I think that and this is probably one of the biggest opportunities. And sometimes you'll talk to agents and they have some negative thoughts on it, but I actually have some very positive thoughts on it, and that's trying to go after that dual special needs market. And so there's a lot of rule changes and just kind of different things about it, but there's still opportunity in that dual special needs market. And we've got it. And so sometimes you'll talk to agents and they'll be like, those people aren't loyal. I completely disagree. Now, are there some that aren't? Yeah, they'll go and get changed, and then you end up having to change them back. Right. But if you do a good job of explaining to them, like I'm going to be your agent from now on. I'm the person that you can call on when you need help. Those types of things, you will absolutely gain their trust and get them and really earn that loyalty. And, because like I said, that we have agents that will literally go, and a lot of times a special needs client is that person that maybe can't read their own letters. Maybe they're not able to figure things out. If you can go the extra mile for them, a lot of times. Now, are there situations where they still leave? Absolutely. Like that's
not bulletproof.
Yeah, you could be perfect, and then there's some people that they maybe just get steered the other way. They get these phone calls randomly, and gosh, I get them
supposed to.
Right, yeah, which is illegal. But I'm not even 65 or close to it. I'm not even 65. I get these calls all the time myself, and they'll tell you I'm calling from Medicare. And so for the less educated person, they're going to absolutely believe that someone's calling from Medicare and maybe accidentally give their Medicare number and get enrolled into another plan. And that happens. But I would say that there are definitely ways to earn the loyalty from those dual special needs clients.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the rules have changed, and they could be state specific, but again, you want to make sure. I think what we're seeing now is they have to be what they call a full dual eligible. But an easy one is if somebody becomes newly eligible for Medicaid. So if one way of targeting this population and trying trying to, create a campaign around, building your book of business around these folks, is getting up to speed with what the qualifications are to help somebody qualify for Medicaid, because there are a lot of people out there who qualify for Medicaid and they don't even know it. And if there's a change in Medicaid status, or if somebody becomes newly eligible for Medicaid, that triggers an SEP. That unlocks an SEP, and it creates an opportunity for you as the agent to now add somebody to your book of business. So if that's not something that you're up to speed with, highly recommend that you become familiar with Medicaid, the process, the application, getting people qualified for, because it's money that's being left on the table. If you're trying to figure out, what can I be doing to get busy? What can I be doing to grow? How can I add more business to my book of business this time of year? This is one of them.
It's worth it.
Oh yeah.
You will talk to agents who tell you, no, I don't deal with that market at all. And I understand it is a lot more work, right? I don't have to go to your house and read a letter, or they end up, now you can just be like, hey, text me a picture of that letter, and I'll read it for you. But it's extra work to earn that loyalty. But man, if you can do it, they will be super loyal.
Well, here's the thing, I'll tell my story, right? Early on, I was hungry, right? How do I find business? I didn't have, my phone wasn't just ringing all the time, people calling in, hey, Oscar, can you help me sign up for Medicare? Can you help me enroll? I had to go out and find this business. And I understood, look, I know this is extra work. This is going to be more work, but I know this is a way to build my book of business. And so if you're in that situation where you're trying to figure out ways to build, this is absolutely one way to do it. And you help them fill out the application. You've got to track the status of it, but it ultimately leads to that sale. And if you do a good enough job, you start creating you get loyalty from your members, and then that leads to referrals. And it eventually, it starts to turn at some point where, you start to get the referrals. But if you're in a point where you're just not that busy and you want to be busy, you want to build, you want to grow, this is absolutely one way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the next one would probably be CSNP opportunities, right? So people who are on chronic special needs plans, or where chronic special need plans are available, not every market has them, but if you're in a market that is fortunate enough to have them, it's a great opportunity. So our market is the San Antonio market, and the plans are either heart conditions or diabetes. And so large, low-income Hispanic community in our city, there's a large amount of people with diabetes. So it just opens up a lot of opportunity to get people enrolled into a plan at any time of the year. And there's a lot of markets out there like that. If you are in a market that has a newer chronic special needs plan, maybe they didn't have that before, that is a huge opportunity to run into people, to share with them that there are some special benefits from being on a chronic special needs plan that they'd be able to take advantage of.
Yep. So get familiar with those, right? Find out, are you in a market where there are chronic special needs plans available, or do you work in certain markets that have them? And if you do, some of these chronic special needs, it varies by carrier. One carrier may have this list of chronic conditions that qualify a person for that plan, and another carrier might have a different list. So it's going to vary by carrier, but again, it's an opportunity for you to ask the questions. And again, some of these folks maybe they're on the same plan that they had last year, and they never took the time during AEP or OEP to look at what other options are out there. And maybe the plan that they've got has always worked for them, but maybe there are some new plans that have entered the market, or just a competitor to that plan that might bring something different to the table, where it bring value to those individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely worth your effort to go out there and find those opportunities.
Easy. I think I would consider, the CSNP plans. If you come across it, it's your low-hanging fruit. It's easy to have a conversation about what options these folks have if they qualify for a CSNP.
Yeah. Another easy conversation is the next one, five-star plans.
Yeah. How does that work?
Yeah. Basically, these plans, it's funny. There's 5,000 five-star plan contracts nationwide, or over 5,000, I should say. And you just have to know what's in your market. If you're one of those people that works in multiple markets, you've got to, I'm sure that most of us have at this point access to a plan comparison tool like the Sunfire, like the Connecture, things like that, that will show you plans side by side and be able to narrow it down by star ratings. But there are a lot of 5-star plans that is a year-round opportunity to enroll people. And with a good conscience, you can say, like, man, listen, this is a plan I would enroll my own family member. I'd enroll my mom into a 5-star plan that has obviously that means they're doing a good job of taking care of these clients. And so, yeah, I probably would do that. And so you would be able to go out there and enroll someone without feeling any kind of, like this is the right option for them. So it's just a good year-round opportunity.
Yeah, they're good plans. There are some scenarios or situations where I've seen a 5-star plan really carry a lot of weight and be valuable. Is if you run into somebody today, right, in April, and it is OEP has come and gone, AEP has come and gone. This person does not qualify for Medicaid. This person does not have a chronic condition, and maybe all they have is original Medicare. They never knew what they were supposed to do, and they're sitting on just Medicare Part A and Part B, maybe with a prescription drug plan. And so that, again, it opens up a door. So when we talk about SEPs, I always talk about open and closed doors. These doors have closed, but if there's a 5-star plan, that's another open door that we can walk through. And what that's going to do, as we know, right, there's so much more value in helping somebody get onto a Medicare Advantage plan as opposed to seeing them just on original Medicare. There are a lot of holes, a lot of gaps, a lot of, financial danger that you could be exposed to if you're just on original Medicare. And so getting them on it, if there's a 5-star plan available, again, you're the hero in that situation. Hey, I've got something for you that we can get on, for the remainder of the year. And then come AEP, come October, we'll sit down and we'll look at, what other options we have available going into the new year. Absolutely.
On to the next is a Medicare supplement opportunity. Like there's been a lot of change in this depending on different states right now, but really there's some opportunity in a lot of states where you can speak with someone who just had their rates increased, and if they can qualify, you can get them enrolled into another Medicare supplement. It's a really good idea, a really good opportunity. Let's not forget that Medicare supplements are a good option for seniors. Probably, I used to go back and forth. I used to say that I would be on an HMO, but kind of like the more that I learned about how these things are working, if it were myself, I would probably enroll into a Medicare supplement. The negative with enrolling in a Medicare supplement is that those rates continue to go up. Yeah. So what I always kind of look at this as an opportunity to do, if you run into someone who's already on a Medicare supplement and maybe it's been 3 years and so they haven't had that giant increase yet, maybe it's a conversation to have to get them enrolled into another plan. Maybe you only save them $10 a month, but the conversation could be, look, at some point, the overall group that you're in this plan, they get less and less healthy. So if we make the change now, you're probably delaying that big increase, and you make that change while you're still healthy enough to make a move. And so that ends up kind of being a big help. So just looking at Medicare supplement as an option throughout the year, and that there's so many people that you'd be able to help. It's kind of the opposite conversation than we're talking about the DSNP conversation. Now we're talking about Medicare supplements, like a completely opposite population. Right. They're probably typically going to be a little bit more informed, educated, and just kind of understand a little bit more. Easier to have kind of these higher level conversations about, about how rates can change and things like that. So just it's a really good opportunity to have that discussion for a Medicare supplement, and just keep in mind that's something that you can do all year long.
Yeah, year round. Now, the med subs, we see a lot of agents there's this fear of having conversations about Medicare supplements, or they're just so comfortable and so used to dealing with Medicare Advantage plans, and maybe you're in a market where you don't do a whole lot of Medicare supplements, and so because of that, maybe you're not as well trained or well versed or educated on Medicare supplements. I would argue that talking about Medicare supplements and enrolling into Medicare supplements an easier process than it is with Medicare Advantage plans. There are only 3 enrollment periods when it comes to Medicare supplements. There's open enrollment, guaranteed issue, and underwritten. So those are the 3. But I got a phone call from a guy a couple of weeks ago. His Medicare supplement was increasing to $490 something a month. And so I feel like as an agent, someone might naturally feel inclined to say, well, let's talk about a Medicare Advantage plan. I can save you, $500 a month. That's $6,000 for the year. That's the max out of pocket on a Medicare Advantage plan. But that individual, maybe they just don't want to be on a Medicare Advantage plan. They feel very strongly about not going with a Medicare Advantage plan. So you've got to be comfortable having the conversation about reshopping that Medicare supplement policy and putting it through underwriting. And sure enough, we were able to find him something. We went from $490 something a month. We went through underwriting. We got him approved for like $290. So saving him a couple $100 a month, that's still a huge win for the member. But the fact that, I'm educated, I'm well-versed on Medicare supplements and how they work, and having the confidence to just have the conversation and stay in that Medicare supplement lane and not really kind of leaning towards a Medicare Advantage plan right off the bat.
Yeah. I think that, that's a really good opportunity. Like a strong agent in that situation will, help them get over to another Medicare supplement. And another strong agent might say that, tell them about a Medicare Advantage as an option. Just be like, hey, look, that you could save. But a great agent will tell them both and just kind of paint the picture like, hey, look, this is what it could look like, and this is how much we could save you if you went with an Advantage plan. Here's the positives of that. Here's the negatives of it. I want to make sure that I'm very clear with them that these are the negatives of going in this direction. And then I can also present this Medicare supplement and say, hey, look, you don't have those, the negatives of joining that Advantage plan we could switch over and save you a couple $100 a month on this Medicare supplement. But the one guarantee that I can't make is you will not get back into the situation where it's going to go back up to, maybe unaffordable price. And you might not be as healthy to be able to make that move. And so you have that full conversation. We'll have a full podcast where we talk about those and kind of like comparing them side by side and how to be a really good agent. Cause man, I see it all the time. Like there's agents out there who will post stuff on social media. I would never enroll into an Advantage plan. And you're probably right. You're probably rich. You can probably afford to not enroll into a Medicare Advantage plan. But there's a lot of people, right? Like there's a lot of people who can't afford it. Not everyone can afford 400 and how much was it?
490 something.
$490 a month for a Medicare supplement. So they've got to figure out other options. Yeah. And so we've got to be able to remove ourselves from that situation and say, hey, you know what? My financial situation is probably different than that senior's situation. And so I'm not going to make someone feel judged for making a decision that's best for their financial situation. Mm-hmm. It's important to do that. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up right there, but just a couple of mistakes that could cost you during this time of the year. Don't go dark after March 31st. That's kind of the biggest takeaway.
Activity.
Yeah, don't get caught up in not doing the things that you're supposed to do, because if you do, you could end up with a less successful AEP because you just kind of put it in cruise control and you did not put a lot of effort into your AEP, getting things ready. Because all of this that we're doing right here, you're going to be running into people. You're going to be building a pipeline that will be ready to go for those October 15th people that are going to start enrolling for January 1st. Yeah. Another note that I wanted to make is that if you are one of those people who only wants to show up at a senior center in October or November, that's probably not the best idea. Get out into the senior centers now. Yeah, get out there, and they see right through it when you show up and you're not there. Another one, and this is a big takeaway, you got to know SEPs. You've got someone who comes up to you and they tell you that they're unhappy with their insurance plan. A bad agent is going to say, okay, I'll talk to you October 15th. A good agent's going to try to find a way to say yes.
Yep.
Exactly. And then ignoring the dual eligible market, I think could really cost you. There's a lot of opportunity in there. And then only selling Medicare Advantage could cost you also. There's opportunity with Medicare Supplement. And, don't think that you can only run Facebook ads during AEP. There's other times that right now you can have a campaign going for people who are turning 65, people who are new to Medicare, and get those things going. And then the biggest one, the cheapest, highest converting pipeline that you can get is referrals. Talk to your current clients. Stay in touch with them. We're going to have a whole podcast about staying in touch with your current clients. Stay in touch with them. And at the end of every touch that you make, you remind them that you are someone that will take care of any of their friends or family, and make it into a conversation and get them to send you some referrals. So we're really excited to be back. I think we're going to continue going. We're going to continue moving and hopefully delivering content that agents are excited about. Excited to when they get in their car, that they're listening to us, or while you're working out, you can go ahead and listen to us, get some ideas. And the idea behind all of this is maybe not to do it exactly the way that we do it. We're all our own individuals, but it's this idea that if you can just get some ideas from other people who've been in this game as long as we have. Again, I've been doing Medicare for 20 years now. If you can get with someone that's been in business that long and get some information from them, hopefully it just sparks ideas and gets you motivated to get out there and to do big things. So thank you so much for listening. And until next time, what do we say? Go out and sell.
Go sell.
There we go.
Get busy.